took it out to the gas station this morning, and I've been thinking that this tank's around 14 gallons, but I'm pretty sure I put 10 gallons in before, and you know, I've only really gone a mile or two on that, if even, and then also the, you know, just a lot of idling when I started the engine and stuff. And so I went to the gas station and I put another 9 gallons in, and I stopped because I'm like, I don't know how, you know, if it's going to come up the filler or whatever. So, and that was a slow process. Even with the new tank, it's still a slow process to put stuff in because it could backfill pretty easy, but not as bad as the old ones, I guess. It wasn't that difficult. So I was just trying to be cautious. And then after that, I did a few laps in the neighborhood, like, you know, 2-mile laps or whatever. Stopped in, verified all my steering. I also noticed that over here on my hood latches, that since the hood's not on there, is actually vibrating, and so I put some tape and some foam in there so it's not banging against each other. And then I took it out and I did a bunch of laps, and I put about 10 miles on the car, and everything's going pretty good. It feels really good on the road. I'm getting used to the steering. The steering's different. It's not kind of like a production car. It's a little different. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the computer actually learns a little bit over time. So probably by the time I get to like 40 miles, it'll probably feel a lot better. But it's starting to feel good, or I'm getting used to it, or whatever it is. It's starting to kind of work its way out in a sense. So, however, you know, I don't have my trans tunnel in. I could still see a little bit of ground. It's freaking hot in that car because right off the bottom of the pan, the floor pan, is your headers. I mean, they're right there. And so that heat's just like coming in. And so you can tell like I'm sweating and stuff. And of course, you know, I don't have any air except the outside windows aren't in the car basically. So there's wind blowing, and it's only like 7 o'clock in the morning. And so it's not too hot out, but the heat coming off that engine is pretty extreme. So there's definitely something to making sure that this thing is buttoned up and as much, you know, heat protection and stuff like that that you can put into the car. That's definitely showing up. So you can see that I'm keeping my seatbelt tucked in next to the seat. However, if this falls out or whatever, clink, it's going to take your paint out. And so these are the things that, you know, as you're doing this, you're like, well, maybe I want that to be protective metal and not actually painted. And that way, you know, it's not getting dinged all the time. But then, of course, you're going to see scratches in the metal. So, or you guys got to be so super careful. So, things like that. There's little kind of functionality things that are happening that I'm like, huh. You know, I notice I like to rest my foot right here when I'm driving. Now, with this car, I am driving 2-footed. There's just not enough room for me to be driving 1 foot. And you want as much brake as possible. And so I got the brake pedal pretty far up. In fact, I'm not sure how. It's pretty close. Let me see. Oh yeah, that's like 1/8 or 1/4 inch away from my steering. So one of the tests that I did is I took the car out and, you know, doing like 20 miles per hour or whatever, I just pushed the brakes as hard as possible. And I could not get the car to skid to a stop. So, you know, I'm thinking I have a decent enough pedal. It's just, these aren't power brakes. So, you know, it's a little scary, honestly, with this amount of engine. And I will say this. I got this super, you know, beefed up engine. I don't know, we'll assume 450, 375 at the wheel, somewhere in that range. And with the automatic trans, which is the 4L60, 65E, if you want to putt around, no big deal. If you want to haul ass, no big deal. You could kind of do whatever. It's not really, at least, you know, I've only got 10 miles on the car, so it's not fully computer learned. But I'm not seeing that this thing is like, you know, I mean, yeah, you touch the pedal and you go, don't get me wrong, but it's not like I barely touched the pedal and the tires are burning off the car or anything like that. So I feel at this moment that, you know, I have good control and nothing's crazy and I'm not scared. Like, you know, you think about like, you know, you're going to go get the car lined. Do you want anybody else to touch this car? Are they going to drive it off the ramp accidentally because they just don't understand the power this car has or something like that? I'm not really noticing that right now. Now, once this was professionally tuned, maybe that's a whole different story. And so, like I said before, if I get this fully 100%, you know, dialed into where it's like the most efficient, awesome powerhouse you've ever had, I think I want to have a few dumbed down governor type settings built into the computer. So if I do have to go into a transmission shop or to get alignment or get my tires changed, which I'd probably do at home, but anyways, I could dumb it down and it's in limp mode and they could get it on and off the ramp or the lift and you don't have to worry about it and no one's, you know, accidentally doing 50 miles per hour in reverse when they come out of the garage or something like that. So I did take my fire extinguisher and I wrapped it up so it's not, you know, screwing with the seat leather, because I started going out and I'm like, you know, I'm going to have this permanently in the car later, but now's when I really need it. This is the time that you're at your highest level of issues happening. This is the time I want to have this in the car. And then later it'll get mounted in the trunk, you know, permanently once this is all finished, you know, wired up and stuff. So, so I felt a little more comfortable doing that. And every time I go out, I am uploading at the beginning and then downloading my settings from the run that day and putting it in the ECU. So I'm just building and building and building my learning situation and not losing it, because I am still taking the battery off, because I think with how everything's wired right now, it's just a good idea to remove that battery in case I'm sleeping at night and something happens. So other than that, man, everything's pretty good. So little nuances. Okay, so here's the other thing. So I put this mirror on here, and I did it mainly just to be like legal in a sense, but I can't see anything out of there except sky, so that doesn't work. I think I've mentioned that the light or the mirrors for the sides, this one will work, but the other one doesn't work at all. I don't know why they give them with the car when they don't physically work. And I got some kind of response back that's like, oh, you know, different drivers, different this, you know, it's going to be different for different applications. No. You'd have to be in the passenger side to see out that mirror because it doesn't come in all the way. That's just how it is. So that's a BS answer as far as I'm concerned. And I'll probably let them know that. So, because that's the kind of guy I am. No, I just think it's a joke. I mean, if you're spending, you know, whatever that is, it seems like all these mirrors are like $250 or whatever on mirrors. It should actually work with the car. No different that when you give me a battery cable, the positive cable that goes from the front of the car to the back of the car, if it's 2 feet short and it doesn't fit there and you're telling me to go buy a new one, maybe I'm going to say, you know, it should be the cable length that comes with the car that actually works with the car. You know, and then of course I get a cable because they're like, yeah, you're right. Well, I think I'm right on this too, but I'm not sure I'm going to win that battle. Might be able to return them though, and then just get whatever I want. So that being said, not having any mirrors on this car, and you're almost kind of, I'm not a tall guy. I'm a little bit shorter in the legs and long in the torso, so I'm not a tall guy, but I'm probably equal to a 6-foot person. I'm kind of crouching down to see out the front window, and I'm leaning way down to try to see the green light or the, you know, the red light or whatever on the streets. So, you know, you can't see anything basically. You can see out your front window and that's about it. You can see out the side windows. When you turn around and look out that back, your head is right there, so you can see perfectly out the back. But you ain't seeing this area. You're not seeing this at all. And so you really need mirrors to feel comfortable in this car. You feel really isolated, almost like you're scuba diving and a big shark's going to come attack you from behind and you don't know it because you got these blinders on. That's kind of how it is in here. Great analogy, right? So my priority one is really to figure out what's going on with my mirrors as soon as possible. and get those connected, because that would make me feel way more comfortable to put some mileage on this car. I don't really feel like going down the highway or anything like that. You know, or being in traffic. Right now I'm driving at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday where there's nobody around except for maybe one car. And I wait until my lane's clear and I'm just kind of doing my thing and testing and hitting the gas and slamming on the brakes and doing all sorts of stuff. And taking some back roads that are not so back that, you know, it's gravel and stuff in them, but enough that, you know, I'm close to the house, and if I need to call my neighbor and say, hey, come help me figure this out, I'm stalled. So I'm just, you know, making circles and circles until I get more comfortable, but I want mirrors as soon as possible. So that's about it for now. So everything's great. Gas gauge is working. I don't know if I mentioned that. So that's good. Speedometer is working. So now all my gauges are 100% working. And like I said before, I had originally 10 gallons. Let's assume I burned 1 or 2 of them. So let's say there was 8 gallons. I put another 9 in today, and this is showing 3/4 full. So, you know, I put an email in to say, what size is this tank? Because it's not in the manual. And hopefully I get a response back that says 22, because that would make more sense to me, because 14 is not making any sense to me that it would be that small. So, till next time, have a great day.